Hey, and welcome to another episode of Gooner Down Under TV. Look, if you're an Arsenal fan, you're probably just like me, and you're stressing out because Jesus is going to be out for a while, and it means Nketiah is probably going to have to lead the line for some time. Trossard might go there. Didn't play too much as striker in preseason, so I feel like Arteta might be leaning more towards Nketiah. Look, I'll give Nketiah his props. He did pretty well in the Emirates Cup game against Monaco, but I just don't feel comfortable for him being our leading striker for an extended run. And I think Arsenal should go back into the market and pick up a striker. Even with Jesus healthy, I'd say the exact same thing. But now that Jesus is gone for a while and now it's his second knee surgery, I feel like more than ever we need another striker. Knees typically are reoccurring injuries, especially two procedures so close together. I feel like, it's going to take him some time to regain match fitness. It's always going to be sort of at the back of his head now, maybe when he turns or he's sort of driving into space, subconsciously, or at least just a little bit of thought is going to play in. So who knows how long it's going to take for him to get back to 100%, or hopefully not, but this might, be unfortunately a reoccurring thing, like I said. So I think, the window is still open. Arsenal need to capitalize on this right now. The striker market isn't as huge as we'd like. There's sort of those top-end players, your Osimhens, your Vlahovic's. And then other than that, there's not too many options. I think there are definitely some, and I'm going to get to those in this video. But I think it's quite hard to find someone who can sort of step in right now and help your team. So this video is all about the 5 players I think Arsenal should go ahead right now and sign. Look, I could have gone and said the Osimhens. I just don't see that happening. We've already spent so much money this window, and I can't see us splashing out a lot of money. So all of these 5 players are players you can get relatively cheap that day, meaning around 30 to 50 million. I think that's like the standard rate for players these days. And we're going to try and cap it there. Of course, there are many other options, but I think these 5 would come in and really be effective for us. So you look, no further ado, I'm going to get straight into it. First player, I'm going with Boulaye Dia, 26 years of age, plays in the Serie A. Haven't watched too much of him. I think I've watched maybe 1 game against Roma and 1 game against Juventus. Not even going to go ahead and try to pronounce that team. But his team came 15th in the league, and he was still able to manage 16 goals, 6 assists in 27 starts. So I feel like those are really good numbers. If he could come and replicate that in the Prem, I think that would be a really good return. But what makes these numbers even better, it's not for a Juventus or for a Napoli where they're going to be on that front foot pretty much every game in the Serie A, and they're constantly dominating. His team was 17th in big chances created, 18th in shots on target per match, which shows, he didn't get many opportunities, but when he got one, more often than not, it ended up in the back of the net. I think his expected goals was only about 8.82, and yet he ended up with 16, and also, pitched in with 6 assists as well. From the little I've seen, and some comps as well, which aren't always the best indicator, but right away you can see how physical he is. He is a specimen. He can bully players off the ball. Anytime it's shoulder to shoulder, the other players are usually ending up on the ground, and he's driving into space. Above that, he's a good passer, good dribbler, and can finish from pretty much anywhere. I think he would be an absolute steal in this market and one of the few sort of like unearthed gems. I think, can see what Jackson's sort of doing for Chelsea. I feel like it's similar situations where he sort of had one breakout-ish season in the La Liga, whereas Dia has had one sort of breakout season in the Serie A. And I think he would be an absolute good purchase, and he'd probably be my preferred option out of the 5. But first, going with Dia, the Senegalese international. Number 2, we are heading straight in, and it's going to be Marcos Leonardo for Santos. Only 20 years of age, and he's already pitched in 6 goals and 2 assists in 12 games. He looks a really good talent. There was sort of some links pitching him to Roma, but it seems like Roma aren't willing to meet Santos's asking price, and so he is definitely available and gettable at this time. If you see him, he's an insane finisher, can score with both feet, inside the box, outside the box, mix it up with different types of finishes. Not only that, technically he's very good. He's sort of like Jesus-like, in tight spaces, he's not going to lose the ball. He can keep his composure and really just create something out of nothing to break down teams. As well, like I said, he's only 20 years of age, so has huge potential. Just sort of like some murmurings around that he's the new Sergio Aguero. And if you watch him play, you can sort of see that he's, not the most blistering pace, and that's why I sort of have pace as one of the question marks here. But he's very quick with his first step. He's just nimble enough to where he doesn't need that pace. He can sort of just maneuver around players. And like I said, his finishing is really good, especially for a 20-year-old. My only concern is that pace aspect. I don't know how it would fit in the Premier League. It's hard to say because it's a complete different style of game. In the Brazilian league, it's a lot more open. So I'm not sure how that would translate. But I think if there's an opportunity, even if he's sort of backing up Trossard at the moment until he sort of finds his footing in England, I think that's something you definitely go for. Because I think over the next 10 years, I really think he's going to be a special talent. I wouldn't even be opposed to selling Eddie and Balogun if that meant sort of buying Dia and Leonardo and having Trossard be that main striker until one of the other two, either in Cups or Champions League games on rotation, prove their worth. I think that would be a really good pickup. But that's enough on my man Leonardo. We're moving on to the next one, Ivan Toney. Look, I sort of did say I wanted to be realistic on this one. I'm not sure this is going to happen, but I think it is gettable now with this whole situation of being banned until January. Maybe if it's swapping Balogun or Nketiah plus some money, I think that would be an amazing option for Arsenal. Look, I put up here, he's not Jesus in terms of his passing and dribbling and hold-up play. I wouldn't say it's bad. I'd probably say it's like average. But in terms of finishing, he is definitely one of the best in the Premier League. And that's something these other guys don't have. He is proven in the league. Getting 20 goals and 4 assists last season is nothing short of spectacular. And I think especially, a lot of fans are sort of calling for different styles. So I think him and Jesus or him and Trossard would be a really good duo. And it's something, they could all play together, or you could have one leading the line. I think if there's any chance we can get Ivan Toney, even if we have to wait until January, we definitely should. But he's not that high on my list just because I don't think it's going to happen. I can't personally see us spending that much on a player with this much maybe controversy around him. But if it was possible, he's obviously the best fit. He's proven in the Premier League. But I think it's not going to happen. That's why I'm not going to push this one too much. And I think one of the first two are definitely more likely. But like I said, I had to put him in this list. He's just special. Like anytime he gets a shot, no matter where, it's at least going on target, and he's going to question that goalkeeper. And that's really what you're looking for in a striker. All right. So 3 down. We're going to go for 2 more. The fourth one is Ademola Lookman, the Nigerian international. He had a short stint at Leicester, didn't really pull up any trees. I think they were trying to sort of buy him. I think there was some financial issues. It's gone a few years back now. Also, let me make him look a little bit bigger here. And then after that, moved to Atalanta, where, maybe Manchester United's new striker came from. And in 20 starts, 13 goals, 6 assists, looks steady. This is probably my least favorite option just because for me, he's quite similar to Eddie. Gives a lot of the same attributes. And if you're sort of going to have one over the other, maybe you'd lean towards Nketiah just because he's done it in the Premier League, or he's at least got the experience. Whereas Lookman, fantastic season last year, might need a little bit more time to settle in. But it's someone I definitely wouldn't be opposed to. And I think if you can get him for that right price, maybe like that 30 to 45 million, I think it would be a good option. You know, if Nketiah goes to Syria, does he end up getting 13 goals in 20 starts? Maybe. So I think they might be too close to sort of create any necessary separation or any like sort of positive gain. So I'm going to admit it. Lookman's probably the least likely or the one I'd least prefer on my list, but he's definitely still a good option. You know, can drive into space, like I always say. You know, can pass really well, and so maybe he would be a good option. But he's my least preferred on this list. So that being said, now we're going on to the fifth and final option. It is none other than Mehdi Taremi, the Iranian international. Very different profile to the other players. He's quite a bit older, 31 years old. However, he is 6'1", so gives that more sort of target man style option. Look, he doesn't sort of fit that age demographic, but he is very experienced. Last season, absolutely destroyed it in the Portuguese league. 33 games, 31 starts. He got 22 goals, 7 assists, which is nuts. So very good return. If you might think the Portuguese league isn't good enough or like it's sort of not telling us anything, World Cup, 3 games, 2 goals, 1 assist. So 1 contribution every game, and also in the Champions League. 7 games, 5 goals, 2 assists. I think one of those goals was against Atletico Madrid as well. But what this is showing, he gets goals no matter what the competition is, no matter who the opposition is, he's going to bag goals. And I think for that reason, he would be an absolute amazing option at the Arsenal. And if you watch him play, he's very intelligent. He doesn't have blistering pace, but he can really pick out a pass. He's sort of like an attacking midfielder in a striker's body. Puts in through balls like no one else. Would elevate Martinelli and Saka. And I think he would sort of be able to make them embed into the attack, similar to a Jesus can. So how he sort of facilitates for everyone around him. I think Taremi can do the exact same thing. Get a lot of assists. And then maybe what Jesus doesn't offer, it's the goals as well. I could easily see him, bag 15 to 20 goals. The only thing is, there's that question marks of can he do it in the Premier League? But I think just for the sole fact that he's done it, in the Portuguese League, the World Cup, and the Champions League, it shows that he can sort of score across the competitions. We also do have Champions League this season, so maybe him leading the line in that would be a good idea as well. But I think especially, over the next couple years, you're not going to get that many more out of him. But I think he could be a fantastic, maybe even number 1, or at least a really good number 2. Him and Jesus or him and Trossard, again, can have a fantastic partnership. So those are my 5. If I'm probably ranking them from 1 to 5, I'd go Dia, Leonardo, Taremi, Tony, and Lookman. Again, Tony, just because you're going to miss him for half the year. Don't know, there's going to be a lot of controversy around that, how it affects the team, I don't know. But in terms of just talent, of course, Tony would be number 1. But because I don't think it's that likely, I'm keeping him at number 4. Like I said, Lookman 5. Taremi, I'm putting him in the middle just because of his age. We're not going to get that many years out of him. It's probably going to be somewhat of a hefty fee to get him. I'd imagine it'd be about 40 to 50 million. Don't see Porto wanting to get rid of him anytime soon just because of how many goals he can contribute. And if you watch, it's not only the goals. Like I said, it's the assists, and he contributes to their entire attack. And then working up the chain, number 2 would be Leonardo, just because he's a bit younger. Like I said, I don't know how maybe physically he would adapt to the Premier League, but technically amazing, can score anywhere, outside, inside, with his head, either foot, likened to the new Aguero, which is, a good thing to sort of be labelled as. And I think especially if you're willing to be patient with him, if that's something he doesn't get rushed into, I think he would be a fantastic option. And I would go with Dia number 1 just for his physical traits. I think he's ready right now. And if we want to sort of compete at the moment, multiple fronts, I think he would give us the best chance of doing that. And then I think he also gives us that opportunity for Jesus to play out right and let Saka rest as well. I think that would be an amazing buy. But what I want to hear is your opinion. Let me know which strikers Arsenal should go out and buy. Or maybe you don't think they even need one. Maybe you're comfortable with Nketiah and Trossard sort of holding down the fort until Jesus comes back. And then you're happy with those 3 to run out for the remainder of the season. If you haven't checked out my other videos, check them out. Will really help out the channel. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for that next video. Peace.